Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode titled First Responders to Entrepreneurs. And we are delighted that we have been joined here by Slater from Relentless Defender. We'll introduce him shortly. Trey Serrano, Tommy Capella, Mike Toussaint, all people that have careers in or have had careers in being first responders and now are running businesses, different organizations, not-for-profits, for-profits, different things. So super excited about this one, just because, while Jesse and I really specialize in everything mental health, mental wellness, we really try and bring everything that we can back to how we can develop mental resilience to improve our lives. And so talking with Trey, we know that entrepreneurship is one of the most freeing things that we can do for ourselves. And we're going to talk a little bit about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset and how many people in first responder roles can kind of fall into that trap of having a fixed mindset. And so we're just trying to provide some value today through these incredible guests that we have. And first, I want to introduce Mike Toussaint, who is, he's a Navy veteran. First of all, he's a native of San Antonio. And he is the director of operations for a company called Bulletproof Dog Training. And again, former police sergeant here in South Texas, and has since left that and is now doing his dog training facilities full time. He's in South Texas, but mentioned that he's going to be moving back to, or at least going back to Ohio because they're expanding, which is pretty exciting. And then Trey Serrano from the Cavalry Group, brokered by EXP. An incredible individual, super passionate about what he does, which is not just selling houses. It really is about transforming people's lives. And so he is an incredible person when it comes to showing what commitment and dedication really can do. And he, I don't know, we'll let him tell his story about his career in first responding capacity, because it's super exciting, kind of fresh as far as when his exit happened and what he has lined up. So I'm super excited. I'm going to let him share a little bit about that. But Jesse, why don't you introduce the other two for me?
Absolutely. So I'm super excited about this particular episode because one, we know the individuals that are part of this, right? And the things that they're doing, and all in each direction is doing some tremendous things. And this particular segment, while it's all been about, COVID based and mindset and perspective and staying positive, I know that this group and this discussion is going to bring a lot of things to light that pretty much anybody in any walk of life can use value. But the first person I want to talk about is Tommy Capella. So it's funny because we were like police academy classmates, and he, not too long ago, decided to leave, and he's had a nonprofit for quite some time. I'm lucky enough to be on the board of Saving a Hero's Place, and they make custom-made wooden honor chairs for fallen first responders who have lost their lives in the line of duty. So he runs kind of like a memorial for the agency, the community, the family, and it's a real noble cause, and he went all in for that. He also has a company called 59 Products, which makes beautiful wood custom items that's starting to pick up on social media. And he kind of got brought in by the Wizard of Oz himself, if you will, right? And that's what I'm going to talk about next is Slater. So Slater, I met a few years ago, and I was lucky to meet him, and I do consider him a mentor, right? So he was in an administration level police department, and then he left and kind of founded the company Resiliency Defender, which you may say is a cultural apparel company, but you'd be missing the mark by just saying that, because there's actually so much more. And if there's anybody that understands how to build a culture, it's Slater. So he has an amazing apparel company that kind of focuses on policing police officers, first responders, and veterans. It's also run by that and owned by that group, has a very good following and understanding. And what's even more is everything about this guy isn't just about making money, which he's been successful, many would argue, but it's most about giving back. And I think he's given back like over $1 million in law enforcement-based charities, and he continues to do great things. So I'm honored to have all of you here. Super excited to talk to you guys. I think you all bring a lot of positive stuff to our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, just real quick, Elizabeth Stevens says that this looks like a boy band in the making. And so if all of our ventures fall through, I say we put something together. Thanks, Lizzie. We can always count on you.
I think I'd be Joey Fatone. I'm just saying, because of the New York thing.
Hey, Trey, though, why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little more, expand upon my bio I gave of you, and talk about your law enforcement experience and what you're doing now.
Sure. Awesome. So whoever's watching this, I mean, this just being part of this is a super honor. I don't want to be cliche because, you know, we're live and we're obviously sitting in front of you, but these individuals right here, and I'm going to like Brady Bunch point to you guys. But you really are phenomenal human beings. We all have the common mindset of protect, serve, and we are relentless. No pun intended there, Slater. We are relentless in the value that we want driven to our community. So a little bit about myself. I was born in South America, and I came to New York City when I was 3 years old. I grew up in New York, and one of the events in my life was 9/11. And so after not seeing my father for a few days, it, you know, kind of hit home. So from that day forward, nothing more than I wanted to be than a first responder. I didn't want to go to war. I didn't want to join the military. I wanted to be on the streets, kind of in the front lines. So I became a paramedic. And after I became a paramedic, I wanted to be a police officer. And where better to be a police officer in the land of Texas? So I really thought there was like horse buggies and, you know, cotton fields or something, people making hay for a living. I guess there still is, right, Tommy? That's you. Just kidding.
Definitely.
So, man, I just threw a dart on the wall, and I wanted San Antonio hired me first. So I started the San Antonio Police Academy in September 2011. After the academy, I went to various units. I was part of the tactical medic team, still keeping up my paramedic. So I did 8 years and recently left the department. So I'm extremely excited about that. And what really what got me to leave the department finally, because we all talk about leaving our full-time jobs to do this, is I realized that everybody has to leave their job at some point, whatever service you're in. So if you have the drive now and you have the visions, that's all you need. You know, luckily I have a beautiful family behind me. I have a lot of great friends that are with me. So that's really was the contributing factor. Is I felt like we needed to have some kind of venture outside of police work, because you know what, as a police officer on the street, and I did it for 8 years, I feel like we don't have a lot of control over what happens. We don't have a lot of say. We can make a small difference, and it's micro differences, but why not do it on a macro level? You know, like starting a huge company that donates millions of dollars into the first responder communities, families. So, man, I honestly just took a dive. I took a plunge, and finally I was able to start a business moving many millions of dollars worth of properties. And I did it with in the kind of same service and frontline mindset that I do as a first responder. So then that's why I created the Cavalry group, because, man, nothing more integrity based than this group. And I believe in it so much. And being in the same arenas as Relentless, as Tommy, and many other first responder veteran groups and businesses, that's where I want to be. And so I feel like I gave the most value to do real estate, to do way different than these other fluff companies. I'm not about that. So that's really why I took the dive. I'm literally jobless. I don't have a W-2 income anymore, but that's all right, because I'm okay eating dirt, and I want to share that mindset with everybody that I come across with. And the synergy of all of us is really what's going to help people.
Thanks, Trey. Slater, do you want to talk about maybe what your transition was like and how long you've been in business?
So my transition, I did 17 years in law enforcement full time. And of course, I worked just about everything in law enforcement, from undercover to patrol, of course, to CID, to ultimately leaving as the patrol commander, lieutenant. And but as far as starting the business, I started the business in 2015. And doing that, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. The one thing that I will give advice, and I'll piggyback off of that, is not every entrepreneurship, of course, is not for everybody. And in fact, I think it's more so a smaller percentage of the people. But the one thing that I will say, the most successful entrepreneurs that I've ever seen, they're driven to begin with, and they have a drive that is almost obvious. Even if you work with them in police work, they're the ones who don't have to be told what to do. They're the ones who are out there working their ass off already, and ultimately, they have a vision, and they see that vision, and then they work backwards from that vision. And I will tell you that the transition for me from law enforcement into entrepreneurship wasn't necessarily that difficult. It's the work that is that difficult. You're talking about 15, 16 hours a day, initially getting it moving, getting it started. You've got to understand that it takes a lot of effort, a lot of risk, a lot of just kind of guesswork, a lot of times, a lot of learning. But ultimately, it has paid off, and it continues to pay off. One of the things that I will say, and you already touched on it a little bit, Jesse, is that when I started this company, it was never about how big or how much money we could make. I always say that the reason why we make shirts, and I had no idea about the apparel business or the shirt business, it was kind of one of those paths that God just let me down. And I will tell you that that's who I give all the glory to for my success, is that's just the fuel. That has been the fuel for us in order to accomplish the things that we've been able to accomplish on the charity side of things. Again, one thing that you didn't mention, I'd like to mention, is we also have a foundation. We started the Relentless Defender Foundation. I am the president of that. And that was a spinoff of Relentless Defender Apparel. Because of all the charity work we were already doing with a lot of these other charities, we still put National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund and Concerned Police Survivors as our number one charity partners. But we also learned that when you give money to some of these charities, it doesn't necessarily go to exactly where you think it's going to go. So by starting the foundation, we were able to control where that money is going, that is going directly to the families and not getting portions cut out of it, so that ultimately it will fund a foundation or fund a nonprofit, and sometimes not necessarily going to the right places. But ultimately, again, I just say, if you want to get into the idea of entrepreneurship, don't expect to work a 40-hour week. I'm here on Saturday. I'm here on the weekends. I'm here late. I don't sleep. As I've heard before in the past by many people, I sleep fast. So just be prepared for that. And it is taxing sometimes. I can tell you that.
I already see like both commonalities there. And kudos to Relentless Defender Foundation as well, because they do really good work. And I was lucky enough to go to your gala last year, and man, that I had a blast. But I was also like pulling out my heartstrings, seeing all the stuff you guys do and all the good things. So thanks for all that work. But I see commonalities there already. You guys both, I've seen you work your asses off. You guys do, and you guys get it. I think it's easy for a lot of people to see success and then think like, that's easy, right? Or like, they look what fell into their lap, or it's all about luck. I hear that all the time. Like, they just got lucky. And I would say that that's crap, because I know for a fact you two work your asses off. Mike, how about you? Law enforcement to business, how'd that happen?
Well, law enforcement for me started while I was on active duty. In the Navy, you had to be a military law enforcement to be a dog handler, and being a dog handler was what I wanted to do more than anything. So my drive for being in law enforcement was kind of twofold. It was, I wanted to be a dog handler, and being a cop kind of came with the territory. And that started in 2002 when I went to the police academy while on active duty. I was reserve in here in the state of Texas for a small department near Corpus Christi while on active duty, and then I was a dog handler in the Navy, and ultimately ended up getting injured in Afghanistan in 2009, and a couple of surgeries later, I retired in the mid-11 and rolled right into a full-time job as a peace officer, and I was fast tracking, I guess, so to speak, as far as advancement. I started off as a patrol, then went to made a corporal, then a sergeant, then I bounced around to CID. So I was kind of filling a lot of seats, but I started finding that it just wasn't as rewarding for me as I wanted to, and getting back into the dog world was really what I needed to do to feel fulfilled, I guess. And so I made a New Year's resolution on New Year's Day of this year, and then January 2nd I went to the department and put in my 2 weeks notice. And January 17th was my last day. January 18th I started my new position as the director of operations for bulletproof dog training, and it's just right now our focus isn't working with the kind of dogs that I worked with in the military. It's more training pets, but we have started working with some police type dogs, and we're going to start branching off into that kind of category, I hope. But walking in from a job that I was comfortable with, that I for sure could have stayed around and probably done well and had a retirement, and I enjoyed doing it, and just walking in and saying, okay, that's it, I quit, was kind of challenging. And I found that thus far, even though the corona has kind of set us all back, I found out that was probably the best decision I've ever made, because I was claustrophobic. I was not giving that job my all. It was not fair to my brothers and sisters in uniform. I wasn't into it like I was before, and so that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, was walking in and saying I quit. But now I'm doing something that I really love. So
that resonates a lot with me, Mike, because I found that a common thing when we have this discussion, right? Because we meet people and first responders from all over the country, and we talk and at different conferences or business development courses, whatever you do, and we the first responders. And I think that it's what we always hear is this common thing, that because we're so focused on safety and being safe, a lot of people, especially law enforcement officers, are probably like very risk averse when it comes to this, and they may not have an understanding. And Joe talks a lot about growth mindset, and I think not having or not believing in yourself, or just thinking like this is all I can do or whatever. And you guys all mentioned something. You guys worked in various levels of the profession, right? You just didn't do one thing. You guys learned everything there was to know about it. And I think that you guys have these personality types and these types of brains that are like, I've learned everything I can learn about this, right? I know there's more to do. And from what I can see, you guys did a lot for your communities when you were wearing the uniform and wearing the badge. You guys did more than most even. Slater said something, right? It's already the type of person that doesn't have to be told what to do. You're going out and getting all the different things. He was in leadership in his organization. But now you guys are able to do greater things, and you are. And Mike, you're doing things that you're passionate about. Trey, right? Doing things for the community than ever before. And on that note, doing greater than you were able to before on growth and doing something great in yourself. I'd like to hear now, Tommy, from you.
For me, when I became a cop in 2010, as you mentioned, you were my classmate. I think losing our classmate early on, it kind of started this passion to honor those that we lose on the line of duty. I just didn't know how far it was going to take me at the time. And then we kept losing an officer every year, for every year that we were on. We lost 6 in the last 8 years. And, seeing that early on, I guess is where I got my passion to want to do more. When you walk around a department or you go into different departments, you don't see a lot about officers that they have lost, which San Antonio did have, a way that someone had come up with before us to honor law enforcement. And that's kind of what led to this. But for me, whatever reason, I think it's when I came on, I never wanted, I always wanted to go out fighting. I didn't want to just be sitting in my patrol car, and something happened to me and I get killed in the line of duty. So I think when Sean Collier was killed in the line of duty for MIT by the marathon bombers, I think that's what set me on this path. That's exactly what I didn't want to happen. And when that happened, I lost sleep. I was angry. I knew it was going to be devastating for that department because they're a very small department. And so SAPD already had some chairs. I was asked to build one for Idris Mukhtar at the Peru substation. So the chair was still kind of fresh in my mind. So I reached out to MIT and asked them if I could build them this chair. At the time, I had no intentions of doing anything but law enforcement. I just wanted to do something for them to honor their fallen officer. So I built that chair. I took it up there with my wife, 2 other officers from San Antonio, and seeing what it meant to them, it was huge to that department. And I think that's when we realized, like, whoa, this, maybe there's more departments out there that need something like this instead of just a picture on the wall or something that everyone just walks right past. So when we came back, we kind of started the nonprofit so that we could start offering chairs to other departments and just see where it would go. We didn't know, at the time that it was going to grow this big. So I had no intentions of leaving law enforcement, but as it started to grow, my passion started moving towards, I felt like I was doing more honoring officers than I was being an officer. I know to some that's probably crazy. And I would have people mention every once in a while, like, man, I'm surprised you don't do this full time. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to do that full time. And then a few years back, I met Slater and was telling him about what we do. And he's like, man, I can't believe you need to be doing this full time. This has the potential to get huge. And I just, at the time I was still thinking, that's crazy. Why would I leave, law enforcement for something like this, where I'm going to get way less pay. I'm going to have no benefits. Like, there's no way I want to do this. And then, last year in October, I quit my job, sold my house, moved to Rosenberg. And now I'm doing it full time. It's just, for me, it was just my passion for law enforcement just got overshadowed by this. I had, I don't know how many, I probably had 1,000 hours saved up on my bank time in law enforcement. I burned them all, taking chairs, because we didn't always put in for leave when we first started. We didn't even know, that was possible. So I literally had probably maybe 20, 30 hours of total time besides sick time, saved up by the time I left the department, because I just burned it all to work with this organization instead. But I think for me, it was other people seeing the potential along with me seeing it. For me, it was just like a dream. Like, yeah, there's no way I could really do that. But then when you have other people seeing it and they're like, yeah, you can do that. That's what made me finally do it. But it's, like Trey mentioned, it's risky. You quit your job and you're like, oh my God, what did I just do? But I think as long as you have the passion to keep going, it's, you'll be fine. It definitely helped talking to Slater about it and other people. For him, he was just always like, just quit your job, like whatever. It's no big deal with it, and like Trey, my family was behind me no matter what I did. They didn't care whether I stayed on the department or whether I, pursued this opportunity to do this more. But I just feel like we'll be able to provide so many more chairs and stuff across the country than we were before. But
that's family support is everything, man. If you didn't have that, it's a uphill battle,
Right.
Real quick, it's important. A point that you're making, Tommy, is just a difference between the two that we notice. And I tell, especially law enforcement or first responders, when I teach this, to consider who your circle is, right? It's a great exercise to actually sit and understand your sphere of influence. But if I tell people or first responders, officers, to say, like, think of your top 5 or 10 friends, your best friends. If they're all other officers, that's a problem, right? And it's not to say that you can't have a lot of police friends or first responder friends, but the point is that when you surround yourself with similar type of people, you're going to have similar types of mindset. One of the big things, or the catalyst moments for Tommy and for Trey, is having family support. But I promise you, a big part of it is having people on the outside, like Slater, like other entrepreneurs, like successful mentors, saying, hey, you can do this. Like, I see something in you that is enough for me to have the confidence. And I'll tell you, like, there's always this like thing within me that's like, hey, don't be a hypocrite, because I am still active. in a law enforcement agency. And I have every intention on leaving. And I have a lot of people who have been trying hard to like convince me, just do it. Just take the leap of faith. You'll figure it out. Just jump and build a plan. You'll figure it out. And it's scary. And so part of doing this episode today is absolutely selfish for Jesse and I, because I wanted to hang out with people who have done it, right? Not people who aren't just talking about it, but have done it, that believe in the process. But I think it's important that you consider who's in your sphere of influence, consider who you're listening to, where you're getting your information. It makes a big difference.
The next thing I want to talk about, and it's kind of it's a two-part question, if you will, or it's going to lead to the discussion we want to go, right? There's a lot of talk about resilience right now. What is to be mentally resilient, right? To have mental strength. And you guys all have organizations that you're kind of running and maintaining. And then everything that happened has happened. So I want to hear a little bit of how this thing has affected you one way or another. And then we'll get into, or you can even take it there, right? Why is resilience important to entrepreneurship? And I think, Slater, you gave the most realist talk about, it's a gut check, right? If you think that you're just going to walk in this and you're going to make money overnight, it takes work, and you got to fight and trust the process and just give it all you got. So I'd like to start with you. Like, why is mental resilience important? And maybe an example through whatever your business is going through right now, if it has been at all affected, if any.
Well, a couple things. One, of course, Relentless Defender is my main company. It's my bread and butter. I've invested in other businesses, other Leo entrepreneur businesses that have started up. And so ultimately, I've partnered with other businesses and those types of things. But one of the things that is the most common thing is not investing in the idea, not investing in the business, but investing in the person that you're going in the business with. And I can tell you that that has always been the number one key to, I think, in any business success. And I can also say this, that yes, you're going to have ups and downs in businesses. You're going to have ups and downs in the income. You're going to have ups and downs thinking, is this the end of what we're doing? The COVID has affected people across the nation. It's affected our business, and I'll tell you specifically where it's affected our business. We partner with a lot of nonprofit organizations. We partner with a lot of POA. Anybody and everybody that has these organizations that have events and nonprofit funding, and we print for all of them. So what has happened over this past spring during the COVID, all those events got canceled. Well, with all those events getting canceled, that took a huge hit on us. So understand that's about 30% of our business is printing for other organizations. So we had to sit there and now try to redevelop the wheel and say, okay, well, this was a hurdle, but it is that resilience to sit there and say, it's just a hurdle. We've got to figure out how to go over it, around it, under it, or right through it, and continue to move forward as a business. So what did we do? We started looking at different ways. I mean, Police Week alone is a huge, the largest function that we attend every single year. And then within those 3 days, understand, and I'll share this with you, within those 3 days at Police Week, we make between $80,000 and $120,000. Well, that was immediately taken away from us. And that's in sales, of course. Well, when you have things like that happen, you've got to literally try to figure out on the go how to fix this and how to continue to move forward in that. But again, one of the things that I will say that any successful business owner, and I'll reiterate this over and over and over again, is every successful business owner that I've ever seen, the ones that hit it and they end up fading away very quickly are the selfish business owners. The ones that come in this business and realize, hey, this isn't just about me. It's about being selfless and trying to see how much I can do for the rest of the world, are the ones that develop that culture, that develop that support, that develop that love behind your business, not as a business, but as a culture of it. So the resiliency doesn't necessarily come from just one person. The resiliency comes from the group of people that you start surrounding yourself with, the community, the family, because you have community, which the best way I describe it is community would be like my Facebook page, 540,000 followers. And then you have family, which is the private group page, which would only be about 12,000 followers. And then you have your really small core of people that you turn to, you talk with, and you get advice with, and are going to be real with you and tell you when you're doing something wrong, when you're doing something right, but you know that they're being honest. So again, it's just one of those things where, yeah, I mean, the resiliency you have to have. I have always sat there and said, every time that there's been a roadblock, sit there and said, hey, you know what? We've been through this. We're going to get through this again. We've all been police officers, and the profession of law enforcement, we've all had hurdles through that, no matter how you want to call them, okay, whether it be the politics of your agency, the politics within your own peers. And you tend to sit there and look at it, and you look back on it and you say, that was a small little piece of my life. I made it through. Let's keep pushing forward. And you just got to keep on reminding yourself of that every single time.
Wow, that was awesome, Slater. So
You know
we heard
what?
about innovation, like working through the problem. We heard about who you surround yourself with. The perspective relating to like the issues that we saw were big before. That was great. And Trey, like I want to ask you, because on this note, right, you're taking the plunge kind of in the middle of this, and you've also had naysayers and people like, oh man, who would do that right now? How is it working out for you? And you know, how do you see this playing field right now?
Dude, everybody's like, oh my God, but you know, COVID and the house, there's no more people buying houses. You know what? I don't care. You know, I believe in this mission so much that I'm gonna win. Just like in a street fight, just like in anything else, I'm gonna win no matter what. And I have the people around me, like Slater said, it's the big group, and then the medium group, the small group, and the inner circle. That inner circle for me, which is you guys and the people that know they're in my inner circle, are just influencing me so much in a positive direction. So one thing that Slater mentioned is, as you help others, and I've kind of developed this theory. It's called the Alford Theory. I don't know if you guys are going to make fun of me or not, but I don't care. So the the what?
There's a good chance we will.
It's probably going to happen.
Do it, man. I mean, you know, we're all ex-service, so of some sort. I'm used to it. Got thick skin. So Alford is, I mean, what I mean by Alford is Batman and Robin, right? So Batman is super badass. Robin is kind of badass, but he follows in the footsteps of Batman. But then there's Alford. Alford is the guy who's level-headed. He just kind of knows everything that's going on. He showcases. He's like, hey, guys, I have this new developing product. You guys should use it on the street, and hope this, super leather jacket that cannot infiltrate bullets, whatever. But it's showcasing, and it's really getting people on a pedestal. So when you get a superstar, rock star on a pedestal, and you're showcasing them, the attention is really diverted on Alford, not necessarily Batman, because Batman is always going to be badass, right? Because you saw the value in Batman, but then you said, you know what? I'm going to stay my whole life serving Batman, and that is not just one person. It's as many, personalities or people, like Slater said. It's the person that you believe in. So just like this, I think Joe, I'm going to talk about Joe and Jesse. You guys are phenomenal. I can't even speak. I'm so excited. You guys are phenomenal human beings that are showcasing people that, in my opinion, you should be the ones being showcased. So anyway, that's my little Alford theory. Thanks, Trey.
Certainly we will make fun of that. But I want to spend a little time thinking about how I can best do it. But no, I appreciate what you're saying, man. One of the things, and it's, I don't want this to become like 45 minutes of just, stroking each other's egos, but it's not by mistake that we've picked these four people. It's not by mistake that we look to this group anytime we're dealing with something, right? And so trust me, Jesse and I, for the last 2 years, have had an incredible amount of support around the country of people really encouraging us and supporting us and telling us like, hey, what you guys do is really phenomenal. You guys are saving lives, you're impacting lives, you are transforming people's mindsets. And those are incredible compliments for us. But one of the things that we also understand for us is that everything at Solution Point Plus to this point is service-based. It's not product-based, right? And so there's nothing tangible that we're selling. We essentially are selling ideas. We're selling IP, if you will. We're trying to get people to look at the world differently through a different lens. But I have huge visions, maybe grandiose, maybe delusional, of really transforming and reshaping training in this country for first responders. And there's a lot that we plan on doing. But one of the challenges, just like a social worker, they go through all this school, they get their master's degree, they get a license, and they make no money. And it's like, there's so much displaced priority when it comes to, financial capital in this country, but it is what it is, right? And so it's a capitalist society. And so we just learn, how do we then take advantage of that and move forward? And obviously all of you are doing just that. So I have no doubt we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks, Trey. I appreciate those words, man. My former partner too. I used to work with Trey. Tommy, you're like in a different angle, right? Because Trey's jumping off the cliff when, the world is falling apart, or so what people would say, or so the economy says. You left and then the economy fell apart. So tell me about what you think matters, how resiliency matters to SHP.
Yeah, I was thinking, what did I do? what timing? I guess at first I was a little worried when all this started, because we rely on donations, and in the back of our minds we're thinking, man, if people are already struggling, how are they going to be donating to these different charities? But we've actually seen, I would say first responder wise, we've actually seen an increase in donations since all of this has started. We've added, people have begun donating to us monthly that weren't doing it before. We've done things a little different, where I've made things and we've put them online for auctions, just to try to keep a steady amount of donations coming in, and also offers items for people to have. So that's kind of how we've been able to keep up with it. But we were a little worried at first, and I was thinking, man, did I quit at the wrong time? But then I heard Trey was quitting during it, so I was like, oh, well, it must be fine.
It's going to be great.
Side note, I did go on the Rentless Defender website to buy that CHP shirt, so
yeah, thank you, Trey.
I'll buy it. I'm buying it right now, actually.
Good.
I just got my 3 in.
You can buy 100, Trey. I know you. You can buy 100. No, I'm just kidding. So one of our followers, Barbara, made a mention earlier that she wants links to all you guys, your information. So we're going to do that. We'll post it at the end of the show, and we'll give you guys a chance to talk about it even. But it is cool to see that SHP has been still getting multi contributors, angels as we call them, and that's really cool. And I think we keep referring back to the sphere of influence. You're part of the Relentless Defender family now, Tommy, and I think you're in good hands, and I think it's going to be all right. And something else Slater said, right? If you're doing something for a greater good, not for yourself, and what you did was a selfless act, I see it growing too. I have faith in you, man. What about you, Mike? Because you also kind of left, and now all this is going on, but you got something going on really, really coming up really soon, don't you?
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple things going on pretty soon. I'll digress a second to when the COVID broke. I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where the main kennels is for Bulletproof is at, and we just got shut down out of nowhere, just like the rest of the world did. And I had about 5 minutes of freak out. And then I accepted it, and I got to come home with my family. And these last almost 2 months have been the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. I got to sit at home with my family, not worrying about anything, and having faith that it's all going to work out at the end, because, I did listen to God as he was giving me these hints to follow my gut and have the courage to take the plunge, which I did. But it's been through the support of my family that's made it, not worrisome, so to speak. We're also a big part, a contributor to Spike's Canine Fund. Some of y'all may not have ever heard of it. It's a nonprofit ran by a best friend of mine that was shot the night my dog died, saving our lives in Afghanistan. And what he does is he outfits police dogs and service dogs with life-saving equipment, temperature monitoring systems and stuff that a lot of the smaller departments, can't afford, nor would they get it if somebody didn't contribute it or donate it. So I get to take a lot of pleasure in the fact that now a lot of things that I'm doing are going to be directly supporting Jimmy and Spike's Canine Fund. And there's also some things going on. And I didn't, just for the record, I didn't set this up so it could be a I Love Me wall behind me. All right. I was trying to get a picture of my dog up on the screen because I'm here because of the dog that selflessly gave his life for me in combat. So, I felt like I wasn't living up to that sacrifice he made, which is what led to January 2nd, me walking in and saying, okay, I'm done, because I just knew it wasn't right for me. So whatever I can do to give back, to try to help out those and the dogs of the fallen warriors in the service world that most of you guys know that get looked over, right? Because a lot of them just treat them as dogs, and they're not. So that's my calling now, is to be able to give back and support in any way I can. And working for the person I'm working for made it easy, because he shut the doors down when other companies were not listening to the orders, not heeding the orders, continue to train and do things just for the sake of getting a dollar. And I respect for the fact that he was willing to send everybody home and abide by the orders and the wishes, damn the money. So I like that I'm working for somebody that's ethical and has got integrity. And I believe in what we're doing. So I'm excited about the future as far as where it's going to take us, because, I have faith that it's all going to work out. We're opening a facility here in San Antonio, like I was telling you guys earlier. But we've also been getting a lot of interest for people to franchise in different places. So I think great things will happen for us. And I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm really not sucking up, but I'm really glad that I'm in this arena with you guys. Some pretty amazing dudes there. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And I think it's an important point that you make too, of, one of the, I've said this on the last couple shows probably, but it's in our shared circumstances that really remove our differences. And so COVID affected everybody on the planet one way or another. Everyone did. And so at that point, it comes down to two things, right? It's like, okay, this is happening, and what am I going to do about it? And so what we know is that action advances all things, and having a stuck mentality of like, okay, this is it, so now I'm going to be victim to it, it doesn't do anything for anybody. And so we cannot be victim to our lives or to our circumstances. We simply accept them, embrace them for what they are, and then we shift our perspective and we move forward, because just as the great Stoic says, the impediment to action advances action, and the obstacle in the way becomes the way, right? And so Marcus Aurelius, it all applies in this COVID time, is, hey, that we have this fear or this uncertainty. Yes, but everyone does. And I think there's incredible businesses being built right now out of COVID. I think that there's incredible pivots being made within businesses. People are, like, again, Tommy mentioned he's getting more donations than he did before. Trade took a plunge in the middle of COVID. Mike's looking at franchising. Slater, even though he's talking about losses, there's absolutely zero doubt that there's still going to be growth within 2020. And it's simple things that the mindset allows people to flourish and prosper and get through trying times like these. But I have no doubt that we will all share high levels of success because we have that action mentality and not being stuck.
So then I do want to say two things real quick. So the first one is, this show is called First Responders to Entrepreneurs, right? We're obviously all talking about the same thing. There's two things in the first responder world about mindset. First responders are huge on mindset, but when danger happens, or when COVID happens, obviously, because it's happened, instead of the mindset of, hey, we need to put down the hatch and hunker down, instead of that, let's break that mindset and think, how do we find something to prosper or to innovate? That is something that the first responder world, I'm trying to introduce, is, hey man, when shit hits the fan, think of opportunity. Oh, sorry, whatever. Just think of opportunity, just like go wrong, stay wrong, when you do the entry. So break that, hunker down, and just be quiet let's think of a solution outside the box. The second one is that fixed, I'm going to do it one way and live one way. I want the police discount. I want that, don't get me wrong. I took very good advantage of those police discounts. But if you think of that discount mindset, it's the same thing as a fixed, and there's no room to grow because you're always thinking of what's the cheapest, smallest way I can get this, instead of how can I have 5,000 of these to eventually grow bigger than myself. That is the two things that, I think I really want to bring up in this programming is think of new innovative ways and break that fixed. And let's start thinking of an abundance mindset. Let's get 10,000 of something instead of let me find that discount.
Hey, Trey, real quick, plug your other group that you just started the Young Professionals First Responder Network.
Perfect.
Just because it fits, yeah.
Thank you. So my plug is we started a First Responders Young Professionals Network. There's 350-ish members. You have to be a first responder background or veteran to join the group. And it is no membership fees, none of this. I want you to buy into this or buy into that. It is literally to train mindset, to have people like us into the group to help that officer who's sitting in his patrol car, just like, man, I'm tired. It's on overtime, to pop his phone up and be like, you know what? I'm going to watch this group and I'm going to learn something every little bit every day, that 1% better. You compound that 1%. Eventually, you're going to be the 80% of abundance mindset and not be the 20%, which is in that fixed mindset. So on Facebook, just type in First Responders Young Professional Network. You do have to fill out the questionnaire, and we do verify, and then you will get free help with any kind of entrepreneur. And everybody here in this group, obviously, we'll send you a link to be part of it.
It is a good group to be part of. So thanks, Trey, for that. And I'm glad you reminded us about it because this is all very relevant to a lot of topics that have been happening in that group. Usually before we close with this, we ask every show the same thing. We're going to give you an opportunity to think of one thing. If you wanted anybody listening or watching to take away one thing from you, whether a piece of advice or something you've learned or maybe a perspective, whatever, this is the time to do it. So we always close the same way. So I'd like to do that now. This has been a great group. I'm so thankful for all of you. You guys are all badasses. In my book, you were before and even more now. And I hope everyone took something away from it because there's a lot of good nuggets of wisdom. So Tommy, I'll start with you. What is your takeaway for today?
I would say that, obviously everybody here is following their passion. I'm sure there's a lot of people sitting right now thinking there's no way I can do this, but you can. Like if your passion's deep enough to do something, you're going to do it. I saw something posted today on Facebook that we weren't made to pay bills and die. Like if there's something you want to make better or something you're doing that you want to make better, you have to take a leap of faith to make it happen. It's not going to grow just sitting there, not putting a lot of effort into it. So you have to take a leap of faith for it to work. And then once you do it, you have to push on to make it keep going. So it's like a drive. You have to work harder. Once you quit your job or whatever to pursue your dream, you got to work harder because now you have to make it work.
Awesome. Tommy, I think there's a lot of in between. We've heard a lot of mentors say what you're talking about. And I think what happens is in this is, I think what kind of the underlying thing is there's a lot learned in that journey. So after you take the leap of faith in that, you trying to figure it out, you doing the innovative things, you making that fight, you learn. And I think that's kind of the nuance under there, right? So congratulations to you. Mike, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is a little bit similar. Obviously, I think all our stories are similar in some regards. But when I walked in and put my 2 weeks notice in, I knew that monetarily I was taking a big risk, and I didn't care. And it was immediate. My mental well-being and everything was immediately better, and it has been since. I haven't been frustrated or worried like I was, prior to January of this year on anything. I mean, I put it in God's hands, and I'm so thankful that I did. So my only piece of advice is, if you've got something nagging at you that you should be doing, but yet you're scared to take that risk, listen to your gut. Just do what you believe in, because I'm most thankful mentally and emotionally for my decision to have the courage to do it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. That's all I got.
That is so important, Mike, because so many, especially in the first responder world, ignore that. They ignore their mental well-being and their emotional well-being, and that's what this organization is all about. That's the whole reason we do this, right? The fundamental underlying thing is we got to do better, and you having that self-awareness and doing something for you, and that it's working. I applaud you, bro. Trey.
So closing words. Every one of these people on this panel started with one thing. They saw a need. So anybody watching this, if you see a need that you like to do it. Don't say, oh, I'm busy, overtime. Stop it. Just do it. Do it and see where it goes. Because everyone here said this somewhat similar thing is, oh, man, I started doing this. I didn't know where I was going to go. So there is no clear path that you're going to walk. There isn't. But if you don't at least start, and if you end up not liking it or it didn't work out, then at least you learn from it. There's no such thing as wasting time or money when you're doing something that you love. So make that leap, start doing it, and see where it goes. And the last thing is, surround yourself with the very best people. Surround yourself with people that have more ideas of certain things that you're not comfortable with, because it's okay not to be comfortable in what you're doing. Just like the police academy, the first time you're handcuffing somebody, or, if you're a firefighter and in the first time you're in a burning scenario, you're not comfortable, and that's okay. That's where the growth starts, is when you go outside of that comfort zone. So I love you guys.
Love you too, Trey. Awesome. Slater, what's your takeaway, brother?
Well, I'm going to feed off of what Trey just said, because I think one of the few things that people don't understand, and I talk to a lot of people that are trying to come out of law enforcement and go into something else, whatever that something else is, they think that they're so boxed in by the idea that they have to do something that related to law enforcement. A lot of people sit there and say, I need to start a security company, or I need to start this, or I need to start that. It's not true. And in fact, when I first started, I started with the idea of developing a training company. And that's what I started with. And that kind of was moving in one direction, and it actually led me to the direction of Relentless Defender Apparel. So one is, don't box yourself in. There's so many other things. You got Trey doing real estate, which has absolutely nothing to do with law enforcement. And there's a lot of other companies that I've seen that really find their, or law enforcement owned companies, legal owned companies, that have nothing to do with law enforcement at all. I knew nothing about how to make shirts. I knew nothing about the business of making an apparel company, period. But don't sit there and just kind of put yourself in that idea. The second thing is, again, and a lot of you guys have already said it, and I think you're so right about it, is surround yourself with a strong core of people, people that not only believe in you, but will also tell you when you're wrong. I think that's extremely, extremely important, because it keeps your integrity high, and it also keeps your motivation high. But the one thing, I know this doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me, is the idea that when you don't know where you're going, you don't know what direction you're going, I literally just put it in God's hands. I say, show me the path and I'll follow it. Instead of sitting there saying, hey, I want this, can you provide this? I don't recommend you do that. You just sit there and say, hey, I'm open-minded. I want to know where you want me to go. Show me a light and I'll follow that light. And as long as you continue to keep that understanding, for me, it works. And I just continue to follow that path for things. But ultimately, again, I just reiterate that nothing will be as successful if it's about you. If you make it about you, I promise you the end result is going to be your end result, if that makes any sense.
It absolutely does. Fantastic stuff. Joe, what's your takeaway?
I'm excited about what he just said. So thanks, Slater. I love it. Everyone, great job today. Really, really appreciative. For me, I think, to just wrap all of this, I think, to bring it back to the individual, understand the difference between what Slater is saying and what I'm about to say. He is talking about purpose driven within your business. And if you have a selfish business idea concept, it's going to end probably not very well and very quick. I talk about being selfish when it comes to our own wellness, taking time for our own development. Absolutely. That is something that we want to be selfish about. Our emotions, understand this, our emotions are the language of our subconscious. So many people do not understand that. They think that the problem out there is what's creating their emotion. And we get so lost. And there's so much that we can learn from understanding our brain and how it works. That is super, super important. Whether you're in a first responder role, you're in business, you're an entrepreneur, whatever your capacity is in this world, we owe ourselves. We have a moral obligation to better understand how we work. So our emotions are the language of our subconscious. And 2, find out what you're afraid of and go after it. And what I mean by that is I really believe that our biggest growth, our biggest breakthrough is directly on the other side of our biggest fear. So whatever that means for you, I imagine something just came up, sit with that, figure out what it is you're afraid of, and then go after it and see what happens from there. Thanks, Jess.
I want to thank all of you guys. This has been an amazing panel. I know your time is important, but giving of yourself with this time has been awesome, and it's benefiting us and everybody watching. So each of you are doing things that are tremendous for your families, for the community, and for organizations. So I can't thank you enough. I am going to make sure that all of your links are in the comments. I encourage everyone to share. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, because this is the stuff that we want to keep doing. And I'm excited and proud to know these men, these heroes. And thank all you guys for watching. But again, thank you for being on with us. It was tremendous. Your wisdom is going to go a long way, I think. God bless all you guys. Thank you again.
And I did just order that shirt, Tommy. Thanks.
Yeah.
I think I saw it pop up on the screen.
Yeah.
I sure did.
Charge them more for shipping and handling. Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
You better give me that cop discount, dude.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.